Do you want to know why it's a good thing that RFK Jr. wasn't with Donald Trump right off the start? It's because the people that didn't agree with Donald Trump and the people that didn't agree with the left went to RFK Jr. And then they got to see how the left treated RFK Jr. with lies. And then they started to connect the dots. Then they started to see, wait a minute, are they doing the same thing against Donald Trump? And then they started to figure out, holy shit, yes they are. And then RFK Jr. endorsed Donald Trump. And now here we are. We got a bunch of new Trump supporters, and we are here to fight. And I can't wait. Nothing can stop what's coming. Trump 2024.
Yeah, he made a great point there. Not having them together at the very beginning actually turned out to be a great thing, because it opened more people's eyes to what's really happening here. And that is the weaponization of, the justice system. Not just against Trump, because obviously we see it, we understand it, but there's a large segment of our population that we live with every single day, we go to work with every single day, we see at the grocery store. A lot of those folks didn't see it. And a segment of those folks who were RFK Jr. supporters got to see it firsthand with somebody else. And I think that was beneficial, because it gave credence to what we had been saying the whole time. Democrats are the evil ones. So yeah, it was great actually that RFK didn't come out in support of Trump from the very beginning. But it's also fantastic that it's happening now, because there are lots of videos across the internet, and you'll see a couple of them here. You just saw one of them there, where RFK Jr. supporters are really excited to come and support Trump. Obviously, you heard about it in the polls with Frank Luntz, I believe it was. He basically said the same thing that I said. It's not going to be a drastic shift, but we don't need a drastic shift. We just needed a little bump. That's it. I mean, we already were in the lead, and just want to extend that to make it too big to rig, as Trump coined. And I said a long time ago, which I got the video still up on the channel. So yeah, a 1 to 2 point bump is all we need. And I think we're going to get it.
Up until today, I was planning on voting for RFK Jr. The reason I was planning on voting for him is because I felt like he did the best at laying out his positions, and I felt that he had the best disposition. Instead of just slinging insults and acting like a third grader, he actually said, I'm not going to engage in vitriol. I'm going to show respect to both sides. I want to bring unity to the country. And then he would go on to talk about his policies, which involved things like trying to get the cost of living down, to be able to afford a home, to attack certain entities such as BlackRock and Vanguard and these people that want us to own nothing and be happy. And somebody's actually talking about these things, about actually looking at vetting, better vetting vaccines and helping us be healthier. And so he's just talking about a lot of things that I feel like are real life issues that are just completely ignored and not spoken about. And but I was conflicted because, I don't agree with RFK Jr. on everything. But there's a lot of things that Trump's doing as well, also fighting corruption. He doesn't articulate his position as well, and he will engage in vitriol. But sometimes that's necessary, I understand, because they come at you from the other side with both guns blazing. But I feel like, and y'all are going to think I'm crazy for this, maybe, but I feel like God's giving us one last opportunity here in the United States of America. We've done everything in our power to bring God's disapproval and God's judgment upon this nation. I remember reading through the Bible for the first time and reading the book of Judges, and just it surprised me the craziness that was there. That one woman, one story, there's a bunch of crazy stories, but one story in the book of Judges in the Bible, they cut a woman up in 12 pieces and send a portion of her body to all 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And just all this craziness. And you're like, what is God trying to get across here? And there was a statement that was made over and over again in that passage, in that book. And it said, there was no king in those days in the land of Israel, and every man did that which was right in his own eyes. When there's no authority, when there's no person with a righteous cause in authority, then people do whatever's right in their own minds. And that's what you see in the United States of America right now, is we have no leadership and everyone's doing that which is right in their own mind. Now, I understand that Trump, you say, well, he's not exactly Mr. Morality. I understand that. Neither was David. You understand King David, a man after God's own heart. He had multiple wives. He had blood on his hands. Was involved in a lot of wars. There's a lot of things. He committed adultery and sent the husband of the woman that he committed adultery with to the front lines to make sure he got killed. He did a lot of evil things, and God judged him for those things. So we see this consistently throughout history, that people that make it to these levels of leadership, they can be responsible for a lot of immoral things as well. And God will judge them for that. But God can also use people like that. And when that bullet missed Trump's ear, and I've been one of the biggest critics of Trump, when that bullet missed him, and I was still conflicted then, I was like, I don't know. I just feel that God has RFK Jr. here for such a time as this. And I've been saying this, and he's a lifelong Democrat. And if he had ran Democrat, I would have considered voting for him. And I've never considered voting Democrat in my life. But I just listened to him with an honest heart and thought, this man is sincere. He has a love for this country, and he clearly sees the corruption, even to a greater extent than most of us, and it's obvious to anybody that's looking. And he wants to root out this corruption and right the ship. And I could see that in earnest in his heart. But I feel like Trump is the same way. And I feel like we have a different Trump now since he survived that assassination attempt. And I feel like God has put this team together. And it couldn't be more evident to me which is the side of righteousness and which is the side of evil. I mean, the other side mocks God's institution of marriage, mocks God's institution even of his design of male and female, they hate our country. I mean, it's people joke about it, but if you see an American flag waving on the front porch of someone, 90% chance that's going to be a Republican. That's not coming from a Democrat. By the way, it's the Republican Party that is not anti-Semitic. There, I said it. From the river to the sea, you might as well wear a swastika if you're going to say that. The Bible still says that if you bless Abraham and bless his seed, then your nation will be blessed. You call me a Zionist or whatever you want to call me, but I will proudly say God bless America and God bless the nation of Israel. And I believe God has given us a chance here to right the ship because our country is on the wrong path. I'm praying for America. If Kamala Harris and Tim Walz become President of the United States, President and Vice President, I will do my duty as the Bible tells us and pray for those in leadership. But I believe we'll be headed for disaster if that takes place.
So yeah, I agree with him. I 100% agree. God's done his part. Now it's time for us to do ours. I agree with that 1,000%. But I also want to show you this clip of Brett. I believe his name is Brett Weinstein. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, I apologize. Check it out.
Absolutely. Let me just be perfectly clear about this. I think the modern Democratic Party is an existential threat to the Republic. And although I am a Democrat, I've been a Democrat my whole life, the party that I see in front of me today is literally the inverse of the party I signed up for. This is now the party of war. This is the party of racism. This is the party of censorship. I don't recognize this party. There is no conceivable scenario in which I would vote for Kamala Harris. I just simply will not do it. Am I open to voting for Trump? I am. I'm especially open to it if he is partnered with Bobby Kennedy, because what that tells me is that my values, which are a much closer match for Bobby's, are represented in that administration. And that's really what I want. I want a coalition to redefine American politics because, frankly, we have a long-standing problem with corruption, which has now turned into something else. with the modern Democratic Party. But we need to rethink the way we govern ourselves so that corruption is not the dominant force, and a coalition is the way we're going to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to unite. We have to unite 1,000%. 1,000%. And, you know, like I said earlier, it's up to us to do our part now. And I definitely think we will get it done. And that isn't me pandering, right? Because to be honest, right, and I've said this before, it would be more beneficial if Trump lost. Then I got more stuff to talk about every day, right? Because there would be so much chaos. So I would have an easy topic every single day to just poke a hole at, make fun of, talk about. But also, it doesn't do anybody any good if I'm sugarcoating everything. You know, just because you ignore a problem doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, right? So if I truly felt like Trump were completely down in the polls and he was about to lose, it wouldn't do me any good to just ignore that problem. You see what I mean? It doesn't mean that the problem goes away just because you ignore it. Just because your house is on fire and you turn around and look the other way doesn't mean that it's still not on fire when you turn around. Like, it's still there. You just decided not to look at it, right? So it doesn't do anybody any good. And as a matter of fact, it's probably even better if we do address the problem and, you know, head on, because we could fix it if there truly was a problem. But I genuinely don't see an issue. And I've given my reasons as to why and made several videos on it. I'm kind of confused though, you know, as far as like everything going on. It's like crazy. You know, you see all these polls, you see mainstream media. Obviously they're colluding, but it's just like, man, like to this level, it's pretty wild. It is pretty wild. To, on one hand, you know, Kamala Harris beating Trump, but then like you see, you know, all of these different videos and things, RFK Jr. supporters who are leaving, you know, obviously RFK because he's dropping out of the race in, you know, battleground states, even though a couple battleground states decided that they're going to all of a sudden leave RFK Jr. on the ballot now, but they were just trying to kick him off. Kind of interesting how that works. As a matter of fact, I think it was North Carolina, I believe, where they had a, you know, a ballot listing draft, right? In terms of like who's going to be where in the order. Guess who's at the very top? Kamala. Guess who's right underneath Kamala? RFK Jr. Guess who's at the bottom? Trump. And you know who's one below Trump? Who's at the very, very bottom? I should say Trump is second from the bottom. But guess who's first? Who's at the very, very bottom? Like, you just can't make this stuff up. I believe it's Jill. It's it's either Jill Stein or Cornel West. It's one of those two, because I saw it yesterday, but I remember looking at it like, bro, this wasn't like a draft. Like, y'all put this on here. Kamala being at the very top, and right underneath Kamala is RFK Jr. And then like her biggest competition in terms of Democrats is at the very, very bottom. And her biggest Republican competition is second from the bottom. Like, y'all didn't just draft this. Y'all didn't just do a random draft. Like, come on now. Stop it with the nonsense. Stop it. Okay? Stop it. So, make sure you guys are checking things twice when you go to do your part come November. Or if you do it early, right? I encourage folks, hey, if that's how you can get it done, go get it done early. All right? Do not be afraid to get it done early. And I heard somebody had said that during one election, you know, your significant other went to vote, and they said that your significant other had already voted. One thing that I saw that could possibly combat it, I haven't fact checked it. I just want to be clear. But one way that I forgot who said it, but somebody said, request a mail-in ballot. Now, like I said, I don't know if this actually works. I need to do some more research on this, but request a mail-in ballot and don't fill it out. Don't open it. Don't do anything to it, and take it to the polls with you when you go to vote. And if they tell you you already voted, you can say, no, I haven't. Here's the envelope. It's literally not even opened. And then you can open it in front of them and show them it's not filled out at all. So how have I already voted? So that's possibly one way that you can combat something like that. That's just something that I thought of, but I wanted to say it in the video so that everyone could hear it versus me just replying to one comment under a video. Okay, so yeah, guys, I'm still excited though. I do believe that we will take this W. Like I showed you guys the other day, I do believe that Trump will take Pennsylvania. He'll take Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia, possibly Wisconsin, but he doesn't need a state like Wisconsin. As long as we have Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, which I fully expect, and then we have Nevada, Arizona, it's cooked. It's in the bag. Now, we still got to sprint across that finish line. Don't get complacent. Don't celebrate too early. I know we've all seen the videos of people celebrating too early and losing the race, right? So let's not be one of those individuals. Let's not be those folks. Let's buckle down. Let's get in contact with people like Scott Pressler, TPUSA, right? Get involved, work in polling locations, go door to door, whatever we need to do. We need to have a ground game, okay? The same way the Democrats do, all right? Make that one of your goals, to be active in some way, shape, or fashion, even if it's just making phone calls for a Republican organization. That's easy to do, right? You could just sit in the comfort of your home and possibly get that done, right? So yeah, let's make that a goal for everyone. Get involved in some way, shape, or fashion. Y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.